That's gone. Hello there. Hi. I just came back from the film The Amazing Spider-Man and thought I might as well come down here and tell you what I thought of it. And I say "and" a lot, don't I? But yeah, anyway. And what did I think of it? It was okay. I thought it was okay. It was a good movie. I mean, but it kind of flounders a bit in some places. But more on that later. Bear in mind though, I kind of went into the movie not in the best of moods, so I don't know whether or not that might have hindered my judgment a bit. But on the one hand, it shouldn't really. It didn't really change that much for me anyway. So the movie didn't really hold up as well as I thought it did. It didn't exactly live up to the hype, but yeah, I thought it was a okay movie. I thought it was a good one. Yeah. Yes. Hi, Mark. Okay. Anyway, what a movie did he take? Anyway, yeah, I thought it was an okay movie. What was it about? Well, basically it's this simple Spider-Man origin story, like we all know. Few changes though. There was few changes though. That there was no field trip or school trip or anything like that. Peter Parker's parents in the beginning of the film. Yeah, at the beginning of the film though, we get to see Peter Parker's parents who are working on this weird genetic experiment type thing. I think they called it I can't exactly remember what it was called. It was something called well, I'm going to call it splicing, really. Splicing human DNA with animal DNA. I think that's what the technical term is for it. Anyway, technical term with it. Yeah, but the parents were working on this kind of like this very scientific, very top secret experiment, which forced them to go underground into hiding, and so they had to leave their son Peter Parker with, we all know, with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, Uncle Ben. That's a rice, isn't it? Yeah. But, and Uncle Ben. So yeah, we get that in the beginning. Then we jump forward a bit towards his teenage years, where he's at high school, and we get the usual stuff. He's a bit quirky. On Andrew Garfield, though, as Peter Parker, actually, I thought he was actually good Peter Parker. I thought he was brilliant. I think he gives it a kind of. Let's compare it to Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, which was played for more comedy, a little bit comedy, a little bit childish, a bit. Andrew Garfield's one though is more. You actually get to believe. You actually feel for this character a bit. You kind of empathise with him a little bit more. He's more. Dare I say, he's more of a teenager, really. He's moody. He gets aggressive. He shies away from people. He's very socially awkward. He kind of talks in mumbles a lot too. So he kind of like dips his head down and goes, "Hi, how are you? Yeah, fine, thanks." Little peeks and sideward glances and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, which was actually kind of good. I kind of find him as a pretty good Peter Parker. Him as Spider-Man though, yeah, I think he worked well as Spider-Man. His quips, he had good quips. He had great stage presence, screen presence. He doesn't really have much of a screen presence though, for some reason. I don't know why though. I think he's great in this movie. He's brilliant, but I don't know. I think this movie doesn't really give him that much to work with. Really, he's more. I think Spider-Man in this movie was kind of really downplayed a bit. I can't really put my finger on it though, but it seemed pretty downplayed. So yeah, okay, get my pillow here. I think it was actually pretty downplayed. Yeah. So yeah, you get to see all that. We get to see how Peter Parker gets his abilities, which is kind of great. Oh, before we go into more details, I have to tell you that I paid to actually see this in 2D because I'm not really a great fan of 3D films because, let's face it, I think 3D is more of a gimmick that way overstayed its welcome. Thank you very much, and should be gone away with as quickly as the dinosaurs. But yeah, so I paid for 2D though. Yeah, I still ended up watching it in 3D anyway. During the first 10 minutes of the movie, we were actually watching a 3D film. No 3D glasses or anything. So yeah, so most of the people were a little bit blindsided. Most of the film was mostly very, very blurred. So we got that for about 10 minutes, and then the screen went completely blank, and we had this usher come in and say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry for the interruption, we know." Everybody was like, "Way! The screen's blank! Yay!" And so yeah, and the usher came in saying that we made a mix-up, and yes, so there was a mix-up. So we're given free 3D glasses, and we ended up watching it in 3D anyway. The 3D in this film is pretty decent, actually. It doesn't really. It's pretty decent. It's not like the other 3D films though, where you kind of have to squeeze your eyes and then it just kind of disappears after a while and you get used to it. But no, the 3D in this is quite good, and not the levels of Avatar good, but still good. So you can watch it in 2D or 3D if you wanted to, but I usually go for the 2D. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so we see the origin story of Spider-Man. He gets bitten by the spider, of course, this time genetically modified, like the first film. No, not the first film, like the first Spider-Man movie. He gets bitten by a genetically altered spider, but this time it's yeah, it was more or less. We get to see more of how Spider-Man handles his powers in some ways. It's a little bit difficult to explain, really, without actually seeing the movie. You probably should see the movie first before you see this review, or see if your opinion differs from mine. But I'm going to do the best as I can here because my memory is like a sieve. It really quickly goes as soon as it comes in. But what can it? Yeah, his powers. Oh yeah. So yeah, he gets his powers where he But no, first he actually discovers his old. But you see him growing up and everything, and then he discovers this old bag belonging to his father, which leads him towards Oscorp. Yeah, there is an Oscorp in this movie. Oscorp, and towards Dr. Connors, which is the villain of the movie. I'll give you the reason why I give him quotation marks later, but yeah, he's the main villain, big bad in this movie. But yeah, so he goes off and tries to talk to him, and then he ends up in this big room, this big blue room full of spiders, and yeah, he accidentally presses some things, and loads of spiders cover him, and yeah, that was okay. And he gets bitten by one, of course, and then he ends up on this train, and the big funny scene when he just wakes up and he got pushed over and he got his hand on a woman's clothing, and he tries to get his hand off, but he just can't because he has this sticky hand thing, and the guy pushes him, and the entire dress just rips off her, leaving only showing her bra, which was brilliant because all the people laughed at that bit. Yes, so yay, bras, big boobies, but yay, I haven't seen those in a while. I haven't seen any of those at all, but yeah, yeah. So not much of a difference from the first movie though. The Spider-Man. There is no wrestling scenes in this one. There's no Buzzsaw McGraw or anything like that, so we don't get to see that in this movie. We do get to see Uncle Ben dying, played by Michael Sheen, by the way, which was actually, I found him really good because he plays this kind of father figure and uncle figure, and yeah, you see him on The West Wing, and you kind of think, yeah, he is a very good Ben Parker. He's assertive and but very caring towards Peter. He jokes around with him. He teases him in some ways, but yeah, he does tease him a bit here and there. But that's great. He tries to give advice and kind of like the Ben Parker in the first movie, but he kind of gets a bit of a bigger role in this one, if you know him. He gets a bigger role. We get to understand him more as a character, really, and we see him seeing him do kind of more and talking. We get more interaction with Peter Parker in this movie. Aunt May, though, she's kind of a bit downsized in this movie too. Which is kind of a shame, really, because I really did like Aunt May in the Spider-Man series. But yeah, but in this movie, she's downsized to it's been more of a secondary downsized in this movie. You get to see her in a few scenes here and there, but overall, not really in the movie that much. But anyway, yeah. So he gets bitten by the spider. He gets all these powers. Then he starts going to Dr. Connors to find answers about his parents and why did he leave. And he gets all, he doesn't really get any answers per se. But Dr. Connors tells him that he was working on something and they had to disappear. And yeah, you don't really get much into that one. You don't get into much in the disappearance of Peter Parker's parents in this movie. Because I think they're kind of saving that for the next one. So yeah. So Peter Parker goes towards Dr. Connors. He tells him a few things, and then Peter Parker gives him this equation which he got memorized in his head, and he was writing it down and saying, and he gives it to Dr. Connors, saying that I think the splicing experiment that my father was working on could actually work. Because in the movie, this gene splicing experiment doesn't exactly work very well, and Dr. Connors was trying to get it to work because of his boss, who works in his boss in Oscorp, wants him to get it done. His boss wants him to get this gene splicing experiment as soon as possible, because I'm not really going to say, I think that's best left at the movie, but let's just say he wants it, and he's trying to pressure him to get it sorted, but there was kind of a problem with the formula, the equations. It seems to deteriorate quickly, so yeah, there was this problem. So Peter Parker just kind of wrote it down, and apparently his father actually found a way to sort that problem out, and Peter Parker just writes it down and gives it to Dr. Connors. Why not? You know, you only just met this guy in about a few days. You only know this guy for about a day, and already you're giving him very, very top secret, highly sensitive. And he doesn't really know yet if this guy can actually be trusted, because for all we know, he could be actually the guy who sent the bag, forced his parents to go underground. So, okay. He's not though. He's not. But so he's very trusting in very ways. So kind of naive. But so it gives him this very top secret advanced equation for really no good reason except for what will happen, because he got bitten by this spider and he wants to know what will happen to him and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I kind of see that. So he starts working with Dr. Connors on the formula, and lo and behold, it works. And they start experimenting on it. So that's fine. But actually, Ben. So we get all that. We do get to see Ben Parker die, though. In the first movie, we don't. We kind of see him die off screen. It gets shot off screen, and see him die in Peter Parker's arm. In this film, though, we actually do get to see Ben Parker actually get shot, and it's not really it's not in the same way as Peter Parker just. Like I said, there's no wrestling scene or anything like that. There's no actual. I think that kind of. Like I said though, I think this film actually kind of downplays a lot of things, and it doesn't hit you as hard as you might think it does. So, because when I was, the robbery scene in this film was a shop robbery, and Peter Parker was just happened to be there at the time, and the guy just snatches the money from the till and runs off. And this guy was said, "What can you do? You could have done something." Yeah, he's a scrawny little teenager. Yeah, he could have done something, but you have to see, because in this movie the cashier guy was this big burly muscly man, and Peter Parker, he doesn't know that he has superpowers, so he doesn't know he can stop him. But yeah, he turns around and said, "You could have stopped him," and he's a teenager. He's a scrawny teenager. He's gonna stop a man who's probably armed and very, very dangerous. And this guy, and he just turns around to Peter Parker and says, "Can you stop him?" And he's like, No. In situations like that, let the guy leave. Never, ever, never get between a bad guy, because that's not going to end well. No. So, despite what the movie might say, well, there's a kind of mixed message about that one, but because Ben Parker actually sees the guy sees the bad guy fall and sees the gun coming out of him, and Ben Parker kind of tries to stop him from grabbing it on that, and he gets shot. Boom! Shot right in the chest, and we get to see him die. But yeah, I don't actually see how Peter Parker can actually stop that. It wasn't exactly it. Because in the first movie, you kind of see where Peter Parker you kind of understand why he kind of feels it was his fault, because he was in a wrestling ring, and he was wrestling, and he was fighting, and he was kicking everybody's asses in the wrestling ring, and the guy knows that he can fight and can tear people apart. So when he just lets the guy go, and he knows he can tear the guy guts, and he knows he was armed. So when he lets the guy go, and then he finds out that he shot his uncle. I don't know why I say grandfather, because he is kind of a grandfather-y figure too. So same difference, I guess. No, but he gets shot, and you kind of understand the guilt he has. But in this one, not so much. You don't really see why he's so guilty, because to be honest, he doesn't. Why he's so guilty about it, really. He runs off, that's fine, because he had an argument with, but most teenagers kind of do that, so it's not. Yeah, you just don't really see where the guilt. Because in the first film, the guilt is what led him to become Spider-Man, and then this whole it was the first domino in the long line of dominoes. So, but in this film, it kind of doesn't feel that way. It kind of feels like it just happened. Because you kind of see what I mean. If you've seen the film, you kind of see what I mean. Because so not so much on the big. Yes, that wasn't really done very well. It wasn't really done very well. And that was kind of left me disappointed, really, because that was like the real big emotional heart of the movie. Really was for me in the first movie. That was the big emotional heart, the beating center of the movie. Peter Parker was trying to become this hero that Ben Parker saw him as, the responsible man, the person he wanted to be, the great man with great responsibilities and all that sort of stuff. In this movie, it was more like wrong place, wrong time. He ran off, sure, and then he got shot, but there was nothing really he can have done about it. He may have stopped that. He could have stopped that guy, but let's face it. He was probably armed. So he could have stopped that guy. Sure, he could have stopped that guy, but it wasn't really that. No, it just didn't work, to be honest. It just didn't work as the first domino of the whole Spider-Man, Peter Parker turning into Spider-Man kind of thing. It didn't feel right. It just wasn't properly handled. So yeah, but after that happens, Peter Parker goes on this kind of like whole vengeance is mine kind of thing, and he turns into Spider-Man, trying to find the guy who killed his uncle. He doesn't really find him in this movie though, which was again something I think they should have done a lot more better. I can understand him trying to fight through all the thugs and bad guys he can find and make the bad guy pay for what he done. But yeah, it didn't really. But he never actually catches him, so yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do there. It would probably save him from another movie, or perhaps, or something like that. But no, he never actually catches the bad guy. And then we go back to him in school, and he comes on Woody and all that after a big event like that, after death of his grandfather. Why do I keep saying his grandfather? He's not, after the death of his uncle, and sorry, I got a runny nose here, and it's a bit of a. It was raining this morning. It was raining most of the day, so I kind of got caught in that rain, and yeah, probably got cold or something coming. I mean, need some tea. Tea will help. But anyway, so what was I on about? I kind of lost track now. Oh yeah, you kind of see him. Yes, now I do. Now I know. Yeah, you see him in school and everything, and he meets Gwen Stacy, played by Emma Stone. I really do like that character. She's not really any MJ or anything like that. You have to see that she's no MJ, but she's pretty good as a character too. You kind of see her family and all that sort of stuff. Her police father, policeman of a father, the chief policeman, and yeah, you kind of see her family, and you kind of see her, and she works as a character, and Emma Stone plays her really well. She acts pretty good. Plays her, yeah, she's a bit girly and all that sort of stuff, but you kind of see she's actually supposed to be very intelligent, and you kind of see that, but not so much. So yeah, he gets on with it and all like that, and all the while he chats with her and all that sort of stuff, but all the while at night he goes out and fights these bad guys and always trying to find his grandfathers. The superpowers though for Spider-Man, now that I mentioned, the superpowers, Spider-Man spider stuff a bit. He does climb on walls. He does climb. He does have the super strength, super agility. He does have the spider sense, but they really did. I'm going to say this word again. Really underplayed his spider sense a bit. It's not really as. He has it, but he doesn't you don't really. It's more of a very, very high pitched reaction. They don't really use it that often, like in the movies where Spider-Man gets his spider sense, and you kind of see the world around him slowly, and then Flash punching him, and you kind of see that. You don't get to see that in this movie though. His spider sense is really downplayed, and you don't really downplayed though. You do notice it, but it's not really that. You do notice it, but yeah, they don't really big up that one a bit. There's no organic webbing in this film. No, so actually we do get the spider shooters, which is more in common with the comic books, but that kind of. I don't really know where he actually got the webbing from. I probably understand where he got it from. He got it from this place, but I don't know how he actually got this stuff. Really, I don't really know how he actually got the webbing to get the webbing. So they didn't really explain how the webbing, where the webbing came from or anything like that. He's just more like he's got it for some reason. He's got it. The costume though, we get to see him make that costume though, which is pretty good actually. He kind of because in the first movie he kind of just has that movie. We don't actually see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man actually make the costume. You kind of just, it's there. But in this movie we do get to see it made, which actually was kind of a nice touch. I kind of like that. So yeah. Then we get to see this very interesting dinner scene with no, actually before that we get Dr. Connor talking to an Oscorp, gonna say right hand man, one of Oscorp's big right hand man people, and they got into a discussion, and the big guy threatened to shut down the project which Dr. Connors was working on, unless he does a human test subject, because the guy who wants it very urgently, really urgently, and so I don't think I'm actually spoiling anything. You know who actually wants it in this movie. You kind of guessed it by the whole Oscorp kind of thing, so you kind of know who wants it, but the reason why I don't mention why he wants it is kind of a nice touch. I thought it was very good, and I think it might be used more for the next movie, so yeah, I think that's best left up to you seeing the movie rather than me telling you. But yeah, so the guys want it, so unless he don't, and then they just tell him to shut down the project, because if he doesn't do a human subject, then there's no actual point in doing it at all. No, actually, no. I think he's threatened some random test subject. So, yeah. So Dr. Connors gets this serum, this very green-like serum, and then injects it right into him, and lo and behold, he becomes the Lizard, which was kind of good. I kind of thought I like the Lizard. As the main villain in this movie, I felt the villain in this movie, the Lizard. I like the way the Lizard was revealed. I like the way he was done, but the Lizard in this movie, I wouldn't say it was a bad choice or anything. I just felt that this character, this villain, just sort of like came from no real. There was no real motive, because this villain kind of comes out of no. I wouldn't say out of nowhere per se, but I think Dr. Connor's motivation for what he's doing is kind of very foreshadowed in the beginning. You don't really get to see why he's doing. You know he wants to grow his arm back, but as far as it goes, really. So him as a villain, it's not really. It's kind of very. Actually, I think him as the villain is kind of the weakest part of this movie because. Actually, no. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that so much because the guy who plays him does it pretty well as Dr. Connors. But yeah, I think the villain in this movie is is probably the weakest part of this movie. Really, he kind of has this. Because at the beginning of the movie, Dr. Connors is actually a pretty nice guy, and he's understanding, he's forgiving. He's a bit of a nut, of course, but who isn't really? A bit of a nut, but yeah. And then all of a sudden, he just injects himself, and he just becomes instant mad, as was kind of a sort of a trend in this superhero genre, really. If you inject yourself with something and then just become instantly insane or instantly mad or instantly bad or instantly aggressive, but yeah, he just injects himself, which is okay, but he doesn't really take any steps to prevent that. Or he says, oh my god, what have I done or anything? He just sort of like, well, I'm a bad guy now and I'm just gonna do bad things. So yeah, well, he doesn't really say it like that, but he might as well have, really, because he just sort of like, oh my god, this is fantastic. I just discovered this new power and I'm just going to use this power for great purposes. So, yeah. Actually, we didn't invest if we had an evil laugh or anything like that. But, yeah, he's a typical mad scientist, really. And, yeah, you don't really see any. Because what I like about villains is you do get to see the tragedy behind them or anything like that, the backstory. This villain, though, there's not really much of a backstory. He's just there, really. He's more of a, you knew my father? Yes, I knew your father. Can you tell me about your father? No, I won't tell you much about your father. Can you help me? No, I won't help you. Okay, and I'll give you this equation. Okay, we'll work on this equation. Are you going to inject yourself with that? Yes, I'm going to inject myself. I'm the lizard! That's about it, really. He just... There's nothing really to him. You kind of... He has this thing... You kind of have this thing, though, where he's missing his own. He just wants to grow it back and think that... Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. But... no, it just... I don't know, but... He wants to grow his arm back and he wants to... do all that kind of stuff, but besides that, there's nothing really to this guy. He just doesn't. I wouldn't say he's a bad villain. No, he was quite good. I think he's a quite good villain. But no, he's as a villain. But no, as a character, he's probably the most flawed. He's definitely villain. He's very weak, very very weak. If you compare him to. The Green Goblin to the first movie, you kind of see him in the backstory, and you kind of see him as what he is and why he does the stuff he does. In this movie, there's nothing really. The stuff that there are clues in the first movie, but it doesn't really set off anything really. It just they kind of just threw the lizard in. We need a bad guy. We can't. Should we have the Green Goblin? No, we've done the Green Goblin already. I think we should save the Green Goblin for another time. Octopus? No. We save the octopus for later. How about the lizard? Great. Let's just throw the lizard in there. That's what I felt it was like. So I don't know. I think you could just replace him with any other villain, and then just the movie would work just as well. Really, that's how. That's how weak the villain is, to be honest. And the look of the lizard is like Godzilla, and it really does look like Godzilla. And the only thing missing is fire breath, and you could just fire breath and scales, big scales on his back, and you could just tell. No, that's definitely Godzilla. But anyway, in the movie, so. Lizard goes on a rampage in Tower, which lasts about 5 minutes, and then we get to see Peter Parker saving some people, and yay, clapping and all that sort of stuff. And then the big chief guy, Gwen's father, Captain Stacy, sends loads of policemen to catch Spider-Man, and again, not really the best. This movie really does have some major flaws, and if you kind of nitpick it a bit, I don't know whether I'm not actually nitpicking it a lot, really. So, yeah, there's major flaws in this movie, and he sends all of his troops to go after Spider-Man, which I'm sorry, but for a vigilante, you don't really send the entire police force. You send a small group of policemen after it, because in the grand scheme of things, really, I think a masked vigilante doesn't really take up. I don't really think. Yeah, you send a load of people. I know it's a crime to be a vigilante. I know that much, but yeah, you send the entire police force to catch him. I don't really see your logic there. Is he an actual threat? Is he actually killing people? Is he actually harming people? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. So I think the reaction of Captain Stacy is a little bit overreaction a bit. I think it's a bit of an overreaction, but that's more of a. I think that's more of a nitpick, really. It's kind of like the Batman. It's kind of like the Batman one, but I think why the police want to capture Batman in that movie, though, in Batman Begins, why the policeman wants to capture, you kind of understand that, really. You kind of understand why. In this movie, you don't really. You kind of just... You just kind of see, we got a mass vigilante, get him! That's about it, really. You don't really know why you want to catch him. You just want to... And you just send the entire police force after him, and that's okay. No, maybe it's just my logic, but I don't think you actually send an entire police force after just one guy. So yeah, that's that. So we get police force, and then you get this whole chase thing. I think actually I'm skipping a bit, because I think I'm skipping quite a bit. So the fight scene in the school, which was actually, I kind of like that. That was probably the best part of the movie, really. The fight scene in the school, and you get to see the lizard bash through the toilets and go on a rampage in Peter Parker's school, and he goes, I'm here to kill Peter Parker. By this time, the lizard actually knows who Peter Parker is. Surprise! And how he finds out is actually pretty stupid, to be honest. Because Peter Parker just goes down in the sewers, and I don't know why he actually does that. Really, goes down in the sewer, and he leaves his camera there to capture images, and because he saw on the paper a reward for proof of the lizard in the Daily Bugle. Oh, by the way, there's no John Jameson in this movie, which is pretty shame, because John Jameson is actually pretty much my favourite character in the Spider-Man series. Bit of a jerk, I know, but he's very funny and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you don't get him in this movie, so why he did that, I think that was more tacked on really than anything. So Peter Parker goes down the sewers and starts spitting his webs out in the sewers, so if the lizard comes by, he knows where he is and all that sort of stuff. And he leaves his camera behind, which is kind of stupid, really, because at this point, why he has a reason. I think he actually wants the reward, but at this point, you don't actually know why he wants the reward or anything like that. It's just more or less reward, capture film, and so we get all that, and he leaves his camera behind, and the lizard picks it up and says, Peter Parker, you stopped me once, you won't stop me again. And he barely stopped him in the first place, to be honest. He didn't stop you, you just went away, and you didn't put I never actually understand that, really. So yeah, so he knows who he knows who Spider-Man is. So he goes on a rampage and tries to take Peter Parker out and everything. And then Peter Parker spins his webs, and there's this huge fight scene in the moment, and this excellent Stan Lee cameo in the movie, which I'm not going to spoil because that is probably the most best Stan Lee cameos I've ever seen him in, and I really like that part of the movie. So yeah, and it ends up with him capturing the lizard, and then they fighting, and then fighting some more, and then they stop because the police were coming on the way, and the lizard goes back underground. Spider-Man chases after him, and he learns that the lizard was planning to create this bioweapon using the formula that he's using, and this dispersal thing where he just shoots up in the air and big clouds of it goes around the city and pours down and mutates everybody into lizards. And again, the reasons why he's doing that, it just comes out of nowhere. He wants to make people like him, which is okay, that's a motivation, but you don't actually know why he's doing it. Why he wants to make people like this way. He makes people like him because he wants to make people stronger, faster, smarter. Okay, that's great motivation for a villain, but why are you doing that? Why? He just doesn't do that. Doesn't explain that. That's why. So anyway, yeah, Peter learns what the lizard is planning to do, so he chases after the lizard, and this big chase scene goes on, and Peter Parker was spinning his Spider-Man is spinning his webs, trying to catch up to the lizard, which is going on a rampage through the city, spraying his big toxins about, and finally reaches up to the tower where the climax of the movie happens, and big climax of the movie, and shoves it and tries to stop him, and the only way to stop him was getting this antidote, which kind of comes out of nowhere really, because it just says, "Hi, do you know the antidote that we have? Yes? Get the antidote." Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things that aren't really explained well in this movie for some, but yeah. So Gwen goes after the antidote, and she gets the antidote and gives it to her father, who by this time actually captures Spider-Man and completely unmasks him, and at this time, and he knows who Spider-Man is, and which is really, I'm gonna have to say this, really stupid. No, I didn't want that. Stupid, and there's a reason why superheroes have secret identities. You know, there are reasons, and but that doesn't. And he just kind of just. No, it's not the fact that he knows who Spider-Man is. It's the fact that he takes his mask off in the middle of a city where cops are about him. I think that's what really annoyed me a bit, and and I just thought, no, why is that happening? But I think that's that's actually a very, very annoying thing, and so yeah, anyway, so he reveals his identity, not only to himself, but I think he actually reveals his identity to pretty much the entire city by now, because you got news helicopters flying about, you got policemen chasing after him, and you got him just completely unmasked, and Gwen Stacy says, "Oh God, I know what you're doing now. You're a hero. You must go and stop this lizard." And blowing a hole, he goes and does it really, and he goes up to the tower. He finally reaches up to the tower and stops and fights the lizard. And Gwen's dad, Captain Stacy, comes along and fires at the lizard and shoots at him and tries to distract the lizard long enough so Peter Parker can get the antidote towards the tower so as to stop the clouds and fire the antidote about, where it can save all the infected people already. And spoiler alert, Gwen's dad dies because the lizard kills him, stabs him right through with his big claws, and the lizard gets changed back into Dr. Connors, and the tower falls over, and the day is saved by the Amazing Spider-Man. And yep, that's pretty much it. But then we get this scene, which I kind of found was actually pretty well done. The ending scene with Gwen's dad, the death scene with Gwen's dad, I thought it was actually pretty good. I felt it actually really emotional. I felt that was actually handled pretty well, because Gwen's dad is actually dying there, and he says, "Listen, I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen. This city needs you, Spider-Man. This city needs a hero like you. But promise me this. The path that you choose will hurt everybody close to you. So promise me this. Keep my daughter out of this." So basically, he has to split, and he does. Peter Parker lives up to that promise, and actually splits up with Gwen, which was actually pretty. I kind of helped. And Gwen turns around and says, "My father promised you, forced you to promise this, didn't he?" "Yes." And that was pretty good. I like that bit. And afterwards, though, afterwards you get this whole thing. You get the movie and kind of that, really, and the movie ends, and that's it, really. And despite its many flaws, I mean, okay, it's good points, and it's good points. The good points. Well, the acting is actually pretty good. The special effects are pretty good. The special effects are good. The dialogue is way more better than the first movie, and better said. Where it falls down, though, it's mostly the story and the directing. I think you kind of tell this, but the directing and the story, very flimsy, and there's no real plot not much of plot holes, but it's very weak. The lizard is very weak, and you could tell that the lizard was actually meant to do more, but no, this was the whole story was very, you could tell it was very poorly put together, and it jumps around a lot too. Some bits go on longer than it's supposed to, some bits go on shorter than it needs to. It's badly put together, but the acting on it, though, the other acting is very good, and the humor is pretty good. The jokes are good, the humor is good, the dramatic scenes are pretty good, and despite the directing, you get to enjoy enough of the characters, but where it just, like I said, where it falls down is mostly the story and the way it's put together. And would I say, and now it's good. I think it was pretty good, despite what I might have said about it. Despite what I said about it, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a decent movie, and I think you should watch it if you wanted to. But did it live up to the hype? No, I don't think so. I think I think this movie. I think this movie is kind of. It's not really one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't go up with the Iron Man or the Dark Knight level. Oh, saw the trailer for the Dark Knight Rises. Awesome. I'm going to see that later when it comes out. But as for this movie, though, I'll give it a watch, but I give it a passing B or C. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents about it. And hope to see you again soon. Bye.